Hello and welcome to Jennifer Knatters, my knitting and life podcast, video podcast. Today is the 27th of November and I'm coming to you from my home in northern Scotland, in Inverness, Scotland, where it is pretty cold today. They were actually originally saying it was supposed to warm up this week, but now instead we're getting a big storm coming in tomorrow. So I had the heat on in the conservatory to make it warm enough for me to sit out here. And then my husband came through, and every time he opened the outside door, a big waft of cold air came over. But the heat is pretty noisy, so I don't want to have it on right now. And I don't have a lot of time right now. Normally I do this on a Monday, but yesterday I actually had lunch with a friend. And so I'm trying to cram this in today. I don't think I'll get it all done. I may have to be doing this again later. I have one finished object today. I do not have it to show you. My husband has already claimed it, and I don't know where he put it. And it's the Sangallo cowl that I was knitting for him by Jen Arnall-Culliford, and it is from the Arnall-Culliford's Something New to Learn About Helical Knitting. So it is knit in a garter stitch helical stripe with a beautiful cable in the front, and I will put in a picture. So hopefully I got that picture in all right. It's just a quick snap I took of my husband. He had put it on this morning and basically raced out the door. I found where he hung his coat up, but I can't find his hat or his cowl, so I couldn't show it to you. I did make it wider. I modified the pattern a little to make it wider at the bottom, because I wanted it to kind of sit under the coat rather than just be a straight up tube around his neck. I knit that in Fibre Arranmore, which I had bought previously for something else and realized it was entirely the wrong yarn for that, so I just had one skein sitting in my stash. It was lovely to knit with. It's a wool cashmere blend with silk nups, and it was really nice to knit with. When I soaked it, it did turn the water very blue. A lot of blue came out, a really tealy, greeny blue came out of the cowl. So if you do knit with it, if you're using the color Shamrock, if you're doing multiple colors together, I would definitely wash the yarn before you mix them all together. And then moving on to works in progress. I did work on my Brunsfield vest, but not a lot, so I didn't even bother bringing it in. And I finished, it's not a finished object, but I finished one sock, the first, got a heel and everything. I haven't woven in the ends, it's still sticking out. I tried to finish the cast off all in green, but it used a lot more yarn than I was expecting. So I gave myself 2 rows of green, since most of the rows were about 4 rows in the stripe. I gave myself 2 rows of green, but it only got most of the way around. And so yeah, Christina hasn't tried it on yet. I have no idea if it fits at all. If I had it to do over again, I would probably start the striping just a little lower, maybe in that white one. And sorry, not the striping, the ribbing. And I think I meant to do ribbing all at the top to make it a really squishy, stretchy one that would fit her, because I think it might be a bit wide for her feet. And I think she will outgrow the length before she comes close to using the width. But I finished one, and I even symbolically started, here's the beginning of the toe for the second one. I'm doing the green. The red is, this is West Yorkshire Spinner. This is their last year Christmas color, which was Candy Cane. And so it's got the cayenne pepper, the solid, and then this is chocolate mint, I believe is what this one's called. So I'm doing the color that matches the green for the toe and heel on the second one. And then this is just what the striping yarn looked like. Again, this was last year's color, So while individual retailers might still have some West Yorkshire spinners themselves, do not. That you can buy some ready knit socks, some ready-made machine knit socks in all 3 of their limited edition Christmas colors that they've done so far. So if you really fancy a pair of socks like these, you can buy a ready-made pair. I did work just a tiny bit on my Munlochy socks, and this is a Clare Devine pattern. I rolled them up so it would be easy. When I say a little bit, I did that much. I was just working on them on Monday, since I'd finished the socks and finished the first Christmas sock and didn't want to be working on it as my walking around project yesterday. I worked on these a bit, so they're pretty close to done. I think I need just another half an inch. Miss Chrissy noted that sometimes I speak in inches and sometimes I speak of measurements in centimeters. Some of my knitting patterns are in inches and some are in centimeters. And so I think in inches, but sometimes I do need to do my measurements in centimeters. So I've done just a little on this. I'm really close to finishing those. I'm almost ready for the toe decreases. Like on my big toe, it basically comes to here, and I need it just to come to there, and then bring those in. I did work ever so slightly, the tiniest bit, on the leg warmers. Again, the pink is my stitch marker, and that was just one day over the weekend when I was sat here talking to Chris, and I just knit on that a little bit. That's my conservatory project right now. So that's kind of what I've been working on I didn't start any new projects this week. Mostly I was finishing my, the cowl for Chris. It's sort of a new project. I had knit a set of these. Now I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly. I believe it's a South African Dutch phrase. Meer mitts, and that's by Robyn Weldon. And so I knit this in this fun kind of rainbowy color, Gongcraft, which is a local dyer. And Christina lost one. Clearly she used them a lot, but then she lost one. So I pulled out the remainder of my ball of yarn, and I have just finished doing the lace cuff, which is knit sideways, and then I need to just graft the edges together and start knitting in the round. These should happen very fast. It's an Aran weight yarn for a child, so those won't take too long. Once I get past this, it will even be a really good walking around project. I just have to get it started. So that's everything I kind of worked on this week. As far as acquisitions go, I did get some new shampoo and conditioner from a company called Function of Beauty. I've been trying it for a week, but I don't think I'm quite ready to give a review yet. So I will hold off on that for a little bit. And then it's sort of an acquisition because my friend Emily Williams, who I had lunch with yesterday, it was recently announced in the pre-launch that she has a pattern in Kate Davies, and Kate Davies is a bit of a big name in publishing, knitwear publishing and design, and she also has a couple of her own yarns, and they said they're going to announce a third yarn just next week, I think, early December, but she is doing a pre-order for her next book, which is a compilation book, when she's put together with designs from other people using her 4-ply Milarrochy Tweed. And Emily has a design in the book, the Tarradale, and I'll pause it here just to put a picture in. So that's the Tarradale hat. It is double knit for that big graphic snowflake, which I love, and then the rest, double knitting is when you make a double-sided fabric, two pieces of fabric together, but then you cross the colors sometimes. And then in all the places where the colors cross, it anchors the two pieces of fabric together to make one double-sided fabric. So it should be really warm and toasty, which is what I've been wanting in a hat right now. And I've been knitting a bunch of hats and none of them are hugely warm and toasty. I can't find my very warm toasty hat right now. Excuse me. So I got together with Miss Emily and she gave me some of her scraps left over when she was swatching. Ms. Davies had sent her one ball of each color, and then she got more of the two she used, which was the dark blue and the light silver. So she'd used some of the purple in her swatching. She showed me her swatch. She doesn't have the original hat that was sent to Miss Davies for those beautiful pictures that'll be in the book. But she showed me the swatch she had made. And let me have, that's the tree that lives where Kate Davies and her husband and dogs walk. And it's the Milarrochy Tweed. This is color Meer, and this one is Gloam. I have a side rant, which is I hate when colors have super fancy names. There's been a trend, which in my observation, confirmation bias, in my observation has mostly been designers who have gone into yarn, and designers can make really beautiful yarns because they know what's out there, they know what works really well, they can then make a lot of designs, beautiful designs in their yarn. Designers, I think, entirely should go into yarn production. They know kind of where there's holes in the market for something they wanted but couldn't find. But when designers go into yarn production, they tend to give their colors fancy names. And sometimes it's fine, like the something new to knit with Aran, sorry, not something new, something to knit with Aran from the Arnall-Culliford, where I had the hat last week. The colors were Jade and Mist, which broadly I think speak to people about what different colors are. And then on the other hand, Blacker Yarns came out with some of their lines and named them all after rivers that are near their mill. So if you live near them in Wales, you'll recognize all of these rivers, although unless one of the rivers is famous for its purple water, I'm still not sure that'll help you know what color you're going to get. And I find that Ms. Davies yarns fall into that category of, they're mostly Scottish words, I believe is what they are. They're Scots words. Smear probably means something like fog, but unless you know what the words mean, you don't know what the colors are. So please, designers, please, yarn people, if you give a color a fancy name, put it in parentheses. Smear, silver blue or light blue. Gloam, dark purple. Especially if you only have a limited palette of colors. If you're known for having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of colors, then you can't really name very many of them purple. You can't name very many of them green, or you'd have 20 green. But when you only have one or two purples, one or two greens, anyway, I'm sure I never did well in anything that involved having to memorize information, and you basically have to memorize the name that goes with a given color. Pet peeve, just getting that off that. Anyway, Miss Emily let me have these two colors so I can just swatch them together. The book hasn't come out yet, so it's not like I can start the hat, but I can make sure the colors work, and then I can buy enough to knit the hat. The yarn is a bit thick and thin. I don't know if you can see that. The yarn's a bit thick and thin, which isn't always the most pleasant knitting experience, but I saw the swatch and everything. It does bloom beautifully when washed, so it should feel really lovely. It does have a bit of mohair in it, so if you're allergic to mohair, not so much on that, but otherwise lovely for accessories. If it is tricky to knit with, you might not want to knit a garment, though many people have, but just things that you'll have close to you. Just checking my time. I've got about 3 minutes before my alarm goes to go get Christina. So the next thing as an acquisition is I bought a pattern Hillhead hat by Karie Westermann, and again I'll pause it. So hopefully I got the picture of the Hillhead hat. And that one calls for Air Valley DK, which is what I knit most of my, I haven't finished them yet, my Halloween socks. And I happen to have a bag of it that I got as a sign-up bonus for subscribing to Knit Now magazine. So I've got the whole bag of these very earth tone colors, including the cream and the blue, and I think it'll work really well for the cream and the blue. And I've been thinking about doing another color, but the colors I have, I don't like any of them. So if I decided to knit this, like for Chris, I could use, sorry for the crinkling, this mustardy, or not mustardy, this orangey, brownish orangey color would look lovely for Chris. I'm not entirely sure I want to knit that much with it. Again, he would really like this pea green. Oh, that can bring me to my other half of the lecture. If you give a color a name by which you refer to it online, please don't only have a color number on the ball band. Like that was my Christmas socks, where I wasn't sure what shade of red I was knitting it in. I had to look up which color 510 was, if it was the cherry drop or the cayenne pepper, and it's the cayenne pepper. But there's no, I've even come across knitting patterns that call for West Yorkshire spinners, and it says use color name. Color name's not listed on the ball bands anywhere. It's not on the printed information you get if you own the yarn. But anyway, I was thinking these would be a nice one for that hat, if I decide to do a 2-color hat. And I was hoping someone might have started one by now so I could see what that looks like, but it's not that hard to imagine. And then this would be stranded, which would be warmer, a double layer of a DK weight. Should make a nice cozy hat, though not quite as cozy as Miss Emily's Tarradale hat. I really want a warm, cozy hat right now. Moving on to family stuff. Christina has continued to do really well with sleeping in her own bed. She's gone to sleep in her bed every night. Since last we spoke, she's come to join me in the middle of the night twice. One night, it seemed like she'd had a nightmare. She was kind of shaking and her heart was racing. And the other night, I think she just woke up close to morning and came for a cuddle. And she also brought home a certificate from school for doing a really good job that day. So she got an extra prize. She got a prize for sleeping in her bed all week, and she got a prize for bringing home her certificate from school for doing really good work. I believe freely in bribery. I think that children's cooperation is for sale most of the time, and you can buy it. The other good news for Christina, I don't know if I mentioned that her teacher has been out since 2 weeks before half term, which was the end of October. So her teacher's basically been out since the beginning of October. She's going to be back tomorrow. She was at school today, kind of getting everything together, and tomorrow she will be teaching in their class, which is wonderful. There's my buzzer. For Catherine, Catherine has 2 new signs. She's got Candy and she's got Cold, which go with, she's got Please, Nurse, Brush Teeth, Wash Hands. Those 2 are of her own devising. Yesterday she came out with, we were going for a walk and she started doing this and this. And I realized she was saying she wanted a doggy to sniff her hand and to pet the dog. So she has a sign for petting a dog. She really wanted us on our walk to approach one of the dogs and say, "Can we pet you?" So we did. She got to pet. It was a guide dog in training, which normally I wouldn't approach a guide dog in training, but the person walking the dog heard us speaking and said it would be okay to pet the dog. I threw my back out. Catherine's been waking up a ton and not settling and wanting to nurse, and she must be growing or something because she's been really unsettled at night, and all the extra nursing and having her on me. I threw my back out and it really hurts. But we're almost over our colds, all of us, so that's better. Catherine does have a few new words. She's got like mama, dada, various sounds for various animals, and she's got, I don't know, I did it, and then this week, ice cream. So those are the most important things in her world. She's come up with words for them. And I was going to talk about the advent calendars I have for next week, since next week starts December, but I am out of time. Upcoming plans, we've got our Thanksgiving lunch this Saturday on the 1st, and then we'll be putting out our Christmas decorations on the 2nd. So I think I managed to squeeze this in pretty fast, and now I need to go get Christina. I hope you have a really good week. Oh, hello to our 3rd subscriber. Clare said she has subscribed. So hello, Clare. We have half again increased our numbers. And yeah, I will talk to you next week. Hopefully I'll have a little more time and I'll show you what I've been getting in my advent calendars. Okay, thank you. Bye.